So, hey everybody, I am Mike. I'm an animal care specialist at the Greensboro Science Center.
Hello, I'm John Rossi. I'm a touring drummer with a passion for animal conservation. When I'm on the road, I spend as much time as possible visiting zoos, aquariums, and conservation organizations. Now, I want to share those places with you. I'll be talking to keepers, vets, conservationists, anyone who can help me in my mission of connecting my people to animals through their people. Join me on my Rossifari. Hi, hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Rossifari podcast. Y'all, there are some absolutely epic, famous duos in life. We've got Laurel and Hardy, Lennon-McCartney. We've got Hall and Oates, right? We've got all kinds of amazing duos, but lately, the one that has stood out above all the rest is the Greensboro Science Center and Rossifari. We've been doing so much fun content between our social media posts and our podcast episodes and all kinds of good stuff there. As a matter of fact, after you've listened to this episode, you need to go check out the Greensboro Science Center's podcast. Not just because it's great and we're supporting our friends, but because Science Unlocked Episode 5 features the one and only John Rossi as a very special guest. That's right. We've now been on each other's podcasts. How cool is that? So make sure you go and check that out. Give it a download. Give us a listen. You'll notice, without going into any more details, I get a little bit of revenge on Bekah. I'll just say that. And if you don't know what I mean yet, you will when you listen. So, yeah. But this is really exciting. We are back at the Greensboro Science Center talking to some amazing people, and that's going to start this week with our good buddy Mike Motsch. Now, Mike is an awesome dude, and basically everything that I want to put in the intro and tell you about Mike, I really can't because it's all in the interview, and I don't want to give anything away. The way we get to a lot of places in this interview is a lot of fun. I definitely think this one will get a few laughs, and you'll also learn some things because and let's be honest, I know a lot of you have been waiting for this for a while, but it is pygmy hippo time, y'all. We've talked about some of the amazing births at the center already, and now we're going to dig into the baby pygmy hippo situation. So that one's a lot of fun. Before we get to the interview, I want to quickly remind y'all to make sure that you are following along at Rossifari on all the socials, at Rossifari Pod on TikTok. Make sure you hit subscribe so that you don't miss any episodes of the podcast, and it would really help me out if you could leave a 5-star rating, or even, especially if you're an Apple Podcast, take the time to write a review. They help people find the podcast. They really do. It's like the biggest way that people will find a podcast. And honestly, it's just really meaningful to me. I like reading them. I like seeing them. It helps me know that y'all like what we're doing here. So ratings, reviews, yay. Also, if you want to, support the podcast financially, you can do so by going to patreon.com/Rossifari. You can join for as little as $3 a month, and there's all kinds of cool bonus stuff there. But yeah, so I've said all that I need to say, so let's get to it. Here is my interview with Mike Motsch from the Greensboro Science Center. I am told that they call you Magic Mike. Why is that?
So that started a couple years ago with our maintenance staff. That's when Magic Mike the movies were really big, so just kind of keep that going once in a while. But all those members of our maintenance team are at a different facility or not in the field anymore. So that's how it kind of started, and just keep kicking that dead horse.
That's fair. And have you ever stripped? No, I'm kidding. We don't want to know, actually.
That cost extra for you to know.
No, but okay. Based on that attitude, then the answer is clearly yes. Okay, so getting back on the rails, since this is actually a record. I've never derailed my own podcast in under a minute before. But I'm here for it.
People's champ right here.
All right. So, we'll
we'll talk about your career and stuff, but like, let's get right to the important thing. Okay. We are at the Greensboro Science Center, and there is a baby pygmy hippo here. So I want to hear just all about how this experience has been and how that happened. I mean, we know how it happened, but you know, the story behind it and just all of that stuff.
So we do have a baby pygmy hippo. She was born last month on the 24th. So she is about 1 month, 4 days old. So that is just wonderful for us. She was born to Hollyberry. Her name is Huckleberry. So quite a good name selection on keeper staff part.
I was very pleased when I saw the name.
Yes.
Yeah,
So
well done.
everyone on social media had their own name picked out, but as soon as we dropped the actual name, everyone's like, yes.
That's awesome, because social media is not always the most cooperative place. So that's good.
Yes. But yeah, so the pygmy hippos, Ralph, who's the dad, Hollyberry, who's the mom, we put them together a few times over last summer. They got along fairly well. And then about last August, they really got along very nicely, if you know my drift. So we saw a couple good breeding episodes. And then both September and then November 1st, we saw breeding. So the last breeding episode that was witnessed by staff members / volunteers was lucky me walking in on those two hippos. So after a while, we were working on ultrasound training. We started to see more and more signs that Holly's getting a little bit big. So around December, we finally got confirmation that, hey, there's a little bun in the oven with Holly. So we just kind of changed up some of the routine, started to baby-proof some of the bedrooms, and then about January, February, Holly said no more to Ralph, so they were together, and typically you separated them once future mom says, go away, you did this to me, so we separated them. Then, about last month, came in, Holly was in her indoor bed on exhibit, called her over. She didn't even lift her head. Usually she comes right over to me, even when she's half asleep. So that was a big sign. So we let vet staff and management know that, hey, it seems to be go time. And then we saw some contractions throughout the day. Then around 2-ish, we started to see feet coming out of mom. So that was
cool.
wonderful. Baby was backwards. So we were all, oh no, this isn't good. Then we saw some toes wiggling, and baby could be in that birth canal for hippos for quite a few hours. So the fact that we saw toes moving was good. And then 15 minutes later, pop goes the hippo, and we had a baby hippo at 2:15ish in the afternoon. So that was lovely to witness, and a lot of emotions that day.
I bet. That's really cool. I want to go back into the process for a little bit, though, and talk about introducing them. Or had they been paired together before this time?
So they've had some howdies between the fencing and all that, but never shared space until last summer. And then once we were like, it's time, we have seen the signs from Holly that she's interested. So she started to be more flirty at those howdies and all that. So we just monitor their behavior. And then after that, later in the summer, that sweet time when fall is on the air, but not quite, they started to really enjoy each other's company.
Okay. I'm curious about, so, I mean, I'm much more aware of, like, I have a better knowledge of the large hippos than the pygmy hippos. And, I know that they are, you know, absolutely ferocious. And I know that the pygmy hippos, despite being small and cute, are still protected contact and all of that jazz. Is it a similar temperament?
So they are relatively a little bit more calm, a little bit more accepting. So they are, I like to compare them to a Labrador to a German Shepherd. So one is going to be on point, in your face. Like if you're not supposed to be there, you're getting the business. Whereas Labrador is going to be there, but also going to be like, what are you doing? So not quite as angry, but they're still close to 600 pounds. They still have those large canine teeth, not true canine, but large developed incisor type teeth, and they could really mess you up. So think of a feral hog, but bigger and more deadly.
Okay. So when you're introducing them, how scary is it for you?
They're the first 30 seconds, I could hear it in my ear. So I was very nervous because even though we saw the signs of them just going up, nose to nose, doing some slight kissing where they just barely open their mouth and just touch it. So they're just kind of saying hello, not seeing negative potty display towards each other. So that first 30 seconds is when something's going to go wrong with most intros. So we saw that. They got along. He was chasing her around a little bit, but it wasn't angry chasing. It was how you doing chasing. So we saw
the Joey Tribbiani method of hippo introductions. Perfect.
But after a while, and then our VP of Animal Welfare and Collections, we were watching for the second round of intros, and we saw some really good behavior. She was going into position, but it was on the hillside because she's hasn't done this before, and Ralph was very engaged, but we saw a lot of good things and saw some things up close that really didn't want to see at this point in my keeping career.
Fair. Okay. So that's really cool. Cause I would imagine that like introducing hippos and stuff would be, terrifying. I'm glad it's cool. I didn't realize that generally if you're going to have an issue, you're going to have it right away. Let's say hypothetically that there was an issue, because there wasn't. So now it's easier to talk about this. What would the plan have been? So
we had air horn. You do a short blast of an air horn. Pretty much makes everything with hearing capability just be like, what's that? Some hoses to distract them. What we call spooky sticks, which is a PVC pipe with some flag/flare on it. So it's something that if you wave it, bright colors, very distracting/startling. So it'd be do that. Odds are one would be chasing the other. It would be separate them, break it up as best we can with protected contact, and then lock them apart and just sigh of relief. But hippos are kind of mini tanks in the animal world. So even if things were going bad, it takes a lot to truly hurt a hippo.
Mm-hmm. No, that makes a lot of sense. That's cool. I think as somebody who doesn't do it, I mean, I get nervous when my dog goes up to another dog, and my dog is super friendly, but not all dogs are. And, owners don't seem to understand that. Like, I'm very careful about like speaking to the owner. I'm not one of those people who just let their dog go up to another dog, but sometimes I'm always just like, oh, is this a crappy owner? Am I about to pay because this person doesn't understand their own dog's body language or whatever? But yeah, I can't imagine with hippos.
Yeah. So just being able to observe leading up to it, seeing all those signs. Management was very accepting of what keepers were saying, of what we've witnessed. So having that documentation, having that observation really helped put everyone on the right track. And if things weren't actually lining up from what we were observing, it wouldn't have happened, but things happened and good things happened after the intro.
Yeah, that's awesome. I really love that. And so tell me about the personality of the tiny little potato we just went and visited.
Oh, goodness. So we were wondering what personality traits, because we like to personify animals and all that, their behavior. So we were wondering if Baby would be like dad or like mom. So we lucked out and got both. So Holly is very destructive, very smart, very in your face and sassy. Whereas Ralph is go with the flow, calm, cool, always hungry. He's kind of jumpy. So like if bees or like a tree branch falls away, he'll be like, what's that? And you'll see him like jump half a foot. So Baby will jump half a 3 inches and then be like, I'm going to beat you up. And then she forgets she's less than 40 pounds right now. So it's adorable seeing a sassy little hippo get kind of spooked and then just go on the attack. And then mom's just looking at her like, now I feel bad for my mom. So
that's really funny. You mentioned that mom at some point was like, all right, dude, get out. How does that go? And were y'all expecting that? And how did that, how did the conscious uncoupling work?
So basically, I think mom just got to a point where she was feeling Baby, wanted to kick dad away. So kind of just behaviorally, dad was giving a little too much attention, most likely. And then mom was like feeling being pregnant because nobody's 100% comfortable when pregnant. So they just were interacting. And then one day she like kind of got into the back half of the one holding space and just like wouldn't turn around and just would open mouth display at him. So keeper staff saw that, separated them, and they were separated ever since. No reintroducing or anything, since once mom says, I'm done with you. She'll be done with him until we put them back together for potential breeding a couple years from now.
So that's very cool, and that makes a lot of sense to me. And I guess in the wild, they wouldn't just be a big happy family, right? This is what would have happened. He would have been run off, basically.
Yeah, basically, dad comes in when it's mom's ready to have babies. He'll mate, and then he'll just kind of go on his ways. And then mom's just hanging out by herself. She'll feed the baby and then go off. So she'll kind of hide the baby. Baby has that natural instinct to hide, because the more hippos there, the more, a potential predator, a leopard, a large snake, a crocodile could be like, hey, there's a lot of hippos there. There's probably a young. So it's kind of like the white-tailed deer of North America. Mom feeds the baby once in a while and then goes away, so baby doesn't have attention drawn on it. So when babies are older, you can kind of see small gatherings of hippos in the wild, that are pygmy, but not large pods, or I forget the other word for a group of hippos. So you'll see a couple juvenile to adults, a bloat.
Yes.
It's a bloat. So you might see a small bloat of a few individuals, but typically they're solitary. So if you see them together, it's either dad and mom doing their thing or mom and baby.
Cool. And how long do you expect baby to want to stay with mom?
So baby's going to be with mom for at least 8 months total. So mom and baby are going to wean, and then once that weaning's done, baby's going to be eating hard, solid foods, hay, lettuce, grain, that type of thing. So it could be a year to 18 months where mom's done with the baby. It could be they're getting along fine and dandy, and there's no teenage daughter drama with mom, and they're together until we get a recommendation for Huckleberry to go on to another facility to meet some lovely boy hippo and potentially help bolster the captive population.
Makes sense. All right. So, is there anything else that you want to tell me about this experience, the entire, the pygmy hippo baby situation?
So it's been wonderful. It's brought a lot of people into the Science Center and Greensboro in general. So we've had a definite uptick of visitors here during days of the week. We don't usually see that many people at that big hippo window. So a lot of kids enjoying it, a lot of mothers, dads, grandparents, all here enjoying it. For myself, it's been lovely since got into this field to make a difference, and having a baby pygmy hippo when there's only 10 breeding adults in captivity in North America is huge for AZA facilities. So building up that population, really nice.
Wow. I knew the numbers were low, but I had no idea that they were that low. Now I'm mentally going through my head and wondering if I've actually seen like all of them, basically. That's crazy.
There's a good chance you probably have seen a good portion of the breeding, because there's a few more individuals out there that aren't breeding, but it's just that 10 right now.
Dang, that is such a small number. That's awesome. I noticed actually both times that I've been here to see Huckleberry, the window's been closed at times, and luckily I have the inn, so I get to be there. But what is the reasoning behind that? And also, I mean, I know that people do get to come and see the hippo. So what is the I guess how often is that happening? And frankly, what's the response been like?
So today, the reason the window's closed, we had a few dead trees removed. They died due to construction of Revolution Ridge, and they just have slowly died the past couple of years. So unfortunately, the one tree, as they were cutting it down with the cherry picker, there was a huge European honeybee hive in there that no one knew about. So we had a large swarm of bees. So that whole area is kind of blocked off. We got the queen and the most of the hive off to a secluded part of the woods next door, but there's still a lot of bees, and we just don't want people to get stung, because people go up to that window and they see the baby hippo, they do a high-pitched squeal, and if bees are there, that's going to amp them up, and people always seem to just flail their arms about like it's the end of the world, that bees are just buzzing around their head, and then they get stung. So honeybees really don't want to sting you. You have to really provoke them. So unfortunately for the tree guys, they got stung because taking a chainsaw to their hive does that. But
I mean, that's fair.
Yeah.
Bekah was freaking out. I'm just going to put her on blast right now. Bekah was freaking out. You were good though. You didn't do the arm wavy thing. No, you just jumped like 30 feet in the air. It was like a Specs Gazelle. I was impressed, actually.
So that's what I saw over the blockhouse. Okay, that was Bekah jumping.
Yeah, it was rather impressive.
Okay. Well, we could take you on. So the cassowaries are a different story, but back to the windows. So today I was due to angry honeybees. Then if we're doing some type of maintenance in the exhibit, or if water quality is off, or if mom's just getting a little ticked off. So we're just monitoring behavior, and we'll do quick little closing off of the window if it's just too busy, too overwhelming for mom. They do have access to their bedroom and night holding, just so they have another escape/hide area, but just trying to keep everybody happy, healthy, and calm and cool.
Cool. Have people been pretty understanding when things have been closed and like getting that explanation, or are they like, screw you, hippo now?
99.9% of people are like totally understanding, especially people who have little kids. Be like, mom and baby need their alone time right now. They're a little cranky and on edge. It'll be open in about 5 minutes, but for the most part, that window's been open for people to look at. We've had both staff and volunteers monitoring that and just asking people, hey, please keep it calm and cool. They shouldn't be able to hear you inside the blockhouse. It's very exciting. And people are very, very understanding. And we've had a lot of days of visitors have been self-policing behavior. So just keeping fellow visitors calm and cool. And everyone's been very nice. So it's been wonderful to see people come together and behave themselves.
Awesome. That's a rarity today. So that's pretty cool to, yeah.
Yes. So
yes.
They could just keep that going and take that outside the property with them.
Awesome. Very cool. So let's backtrack a little bit now that we've covered the main topic. And let's talk about you a little bit. So like, how did you get into this field? Did you know that you wanted to work with animals when you were a kid? Like, what's your story?
So I grew up like most people in this field watching Crocodile Hunter, Discovery Channel, Animal Planet. That's what I watched as a kid. Watched a little bit of Sesame Street, but then it was straight to that educational animal stuff. So since kindergarten, I've wanted to be a zookeeper person in some facet. So I've just kept that going. And then through high school, people will be like, what are you going to college for? I'm like, I want to be a zookeeper. So, and they're like, okay, Dr. Dolittle. And just kept the dream going, and then did some internships after getting my degree, and then ended up here at the Science Center and started off as a weekend coverage person. And now I'm over the pygmy hippos and cassowary, along with many other animals I used to be over.
Where did you do your internship?
So
ma'am, do you need a microphone? Should I just?
I actually have a question for you.
Bekah's just yelling over there, doing hand signals. It's great.
Bekah completely killed my joke, by the way, because I had a joke before the next question. But no, it's fine. It's fine. You do you. Bekah's launching her own podcast tomorrow, and I think she's just getting jumpy. But go ahead, ask that question again.
Mike, this is a really important question. There's only one correct answer. Where did you do your internship?
Only one correct answer.
You know what the answer is?
I don't. I don't know what the correct answer is. I know
it's
where
the Greensboro Science Center.
I mean, yes, that was my last internship since luckily I got paid, but I interned at a rehab center up in Northeast Ohio. Then I interned.
I'm joking. Don't put any of that in there. But I will.
You better keep this.
No.
This sassiness is what people drive. This is real right here.
My microphone is staying in. Absolutely.
Okay, look. Mike. Okay.
It's Magic Mike.
Magical Michael.
I'm a level 10 druid, okay?
Like many keepers here at the Science Center, where all did you intern?
So I interned high school going into college at a rehab center in Northeast Ohio, just a town south of where I grew up in Mentor, Ohio, outside of Cleveland. Then after college, I interned at the Cincinnati Zoo and Botanical Garden for that fall. And then I came down here for an internship. So I packed up my lovely Buick Century and drove my stuff down here to be an intern for 4 months. And then part-time opened up. So I did that. And then about 10 months later, full-time position opened up. So I became in charge of the Meerkats, Wallaby, and Barnyard. And up until 2 years ago, I was over that barnyard and different areas of the zoo at some point.
You are quite famous for those Yoda walks.
Yes, Yodel is one of the best goats, and if you haven't seen him on YouTube, there are some lovely, lovely Mike and Yodel COVID antic walkthroughs of the zoo when it was completely empty, and I was probably losing my mind a little bit.
Don't forget the aquarium. You took a goat to the aquarium.
That is right. Yodel loves the trash can in the aquarium and the cow nose rays. The sharks in the shark tank, meh. Penguins, meh. Garbage can and Flappy Flaps in the touch tank.
The
loved
sea
it.
pancakes are a favorite of mine as well. All right, I'm gonna give it back to you.
Stealing the thunder. That's cool.
Well, that just happened. All right. Awesome. So
Just trying to show you is that the majority of people who are here intern here.
that's really important to point out that like so many people who work here now got their start or one of their starts interning here. And that shows that it's a facility that's really interested in not only developing, people, but in rewarding, good work.
Talent,
Yeah.
ability,
Yeah.
whatever.
All the things that you have.
Greatness, I've been told. Kelly has been also told she's great as well.
Oh,
so
Kelly's great. Let's be real clear. Kelly,
So-
Kelly is great.
the great
You
ones
seem
rise
fine.
to the top. I mean, you gotta get me in the morning when I still have coffee in my system. Right now, I'm just that afternoon low.
I get that. I've only had one huge coffee today, so that's why I'm only this excited. Normally I'm much deeper into my coffees at this point, but yeah, I'm much. So anyway, this podcast is just the best thing we've ever produced. Thank you, Bekah, for that. So moving on from
Becca's
you.
pirating and all that.
Yes. Let's talk cassowary. Amazing creature.
Oh, yes.
Absolutely amazing. Tell me everything.
So I don't know if I could say this, but if Hagrid could have a bird that wasn't magical, it'd be a cassowary because they're the most dangerous bird on the planet. They're about 5 foot, 5'10", depending on how big they are, but third largest bird, second heaviest, and the most deadly. So I believe there's 2 fatalities worldwide a year from them. And this is due to on their feet, they are rat height, so they walk, they're big. Moana's about 120 pounds right now. She's our female.
Moana. That's awesome.
So she has these big old feet and the inner digits, her claw, talon, whatever you want to call it truly, is about 4 inches long. And so they can kick like a mule, but they kick out and it's the perfect height to hit my diaphragm and just tear all the way down to my kneecap. So they could do a lot of damage if they land a kick. That's why they're also a protected contact animal. So we never go in with the cassowaries because bad times.
So we have Moana and you have 2. So what's the
Yes.
other one?
So we have Moana, who we named after the lovely Disney princess.
Disney
Can
princess,
we
yes.
say Disney? I don't know. I don't want to get in trouble here. And then we have Dodo. So we got Dodo in 2018, and we were trying to just figure out names. We were going with names that of extinct larger birds. So we had his sister Moa, like the New Zealand moa bird, and then we had Dodo because dodo birds were a fairly recent human-caused extinction. So we wanted to honor those and have names that got people thinking. And Dodo kind of sadly lives up to his name a little bit. So he's very smart, but he's easily distracted. So he'll be on his recall coming straight for me. You'll see him through the shift door, and then a bumblebee will just go from left to right across his face, and he'll follow that bumblebee for 3 steps and then realize he's supposed to go inside and then get back on track. So he's kind of like Dory from Finding Nemo. It's like doing my job, doing what I'm supposed to. Oh, what's that shiny over there? So
That's amazing. Oh my goodness. The idea of a cassowary being a goober and just very easily distracted is really funny to me.
yes.
Yeah.
But he's a wonderful bird to work with.
So what kind of training did you do with him?
So we work with a recall. We do target training, scale training. So getting them up on to a scale willingly.
Okay, wait, describe this to me. Since it's protected contact and since, they are so big, I'm just curious how that works.
So in holding and the yard, so it's chain link outside. Then we have basically narrow slots, kind of like a horse stall is they're holding. Like the doors have some windows in it that are like 2-inch gaps. So we could toss some food, do target with, for me, we have a target stick and also my fist. So they just basically beak to my fist / that area and we just reward it. So targeting for that and then getting them up on a scale. So this is the most difficult thing is shift them out, which is easy. moving the scale, which is meant for large hoof stock. So the scale weighs about 180, 200 pounds, I want to say. So we move that in there, set it up with the scale bars, lock it all up, shift them back in, and then scale steps up on it, and we get that weight. So probably the most difficult thing is just getting those monthly weights, because moving that scale is a delight. But it's cassowary and hippo strength rated, so that's why we have it. And it has a nice 1-inch foam topper on it, so they're not going to move anywhere, and we could do some stuff. Then Moana and Dodo were also working on some injection training, so we're desensitizing them to just that touch on the back through the bar, and then we're creating a training station outside of exhibit with a little chute. Once we get some dimensions and breeding season second clutch lane stops, we'll go ahead with that.
Cool. That's really interesting. That's how, like, what are their weights?
So Moana's around 120. Dodo is around, gosh, goodness, I got to do some math real quick, around 90 to 100 pounds. So we had a clutch of eggs. They were no longer recommended to breed from the species survival plan coordinator. So we had to basically blow out the eggs, create dummy eggs with plaster and all that, give it back to them. So Dodo did what a male cassowary does, is he takes care of the eggs and the babies. So we let him sit on the fake eggs for the amount of time it would take for those to hatch, and then we pulled those eggs. But during that time, he's focused on those eggs, not really shifting, but we did get him to shift and do some things so we could monitor and clean the exhibit here and there. But that's just a testament to staff and the training program we have in place of getting that bird off eggs when he thinks they're still there. There's a few facilities that have had males that, through a blizzard, through tornado weather, that type of thing, have just sat on eggs, just making sure his babies, future babies, are good. So good dad. So cassowary, fun fact, mom, she has a few boyfriends, and if things are good, she'll lay multiple nests, and it's the dads that sit on the eggs and raise the young and then kick the young out to the world. So mom just defends her territory and her boyfriends, and then no parental care from her.
Wow, that is really interesting. I did not know that. That's very cool. Are they, like, I don't know, this might be a dumb question, but that's okay. I'm a drummer. I know that they're not flighted, but do they still have like hollow bones and stuff?
So their skeleton is solid.
Okay. I was just wondering how they weighed so much. That's really interesting.
They are just units, basically. They're strong, sturdy birds. And we built their holding, basically draft horse Clydesdale-esque stalls. So big, thick, heavy-duty 2x6s. So it's strong. You could take a kick from a Clydesdale and not break, but also giving. So it's not cinder block, brick and all that. It's something that gives, but is still super strong. So if bird is angry and kicks at the wall, kicks at the door's going to move but not break, and bird's not going to break. So very good design aspect of the new expansion here.
That's really cool. I mean, I love the whole Revolutionary Age. Is so cool. It's just, I love the kind of thought that goes into things like that too. That's really impressive. That's really cool. So do you know offhand, I'm just fascinated by the hollow bones thing, because I just always think birds hollow bones. So is that true of all rat tights then?
I believe so. I believe they have that solid skeleton. So just like me or you, we kind of have spongy inner bone. Same thing with the rat tights. They have a more developed skeletal system. So it's not the thin, dainty air sac filled like the flighted birds. It's more robust.
That makes sense. That's really cool. I did not know that. I like learning. Learning's cool. Yeah. So I'm curious, is it, do you end up doing a lot of other work then? Because like most people that I talk to, be it here or elsewhere, you know, they have more than 2 animals that are like on their string. So do you do a lot of cover work, or are you able to fill all your time with those 2?
So also responsible for basic life support system for the hippo. So keeping those pools clean, because hippos poop primarily in the water. So most mornings I'm doing some form of retrieving the poop fecal matter out of the system that the filtration hasn't gone through. So I also in the morning and afternoon help with our barnyard area because when it's 90 degrees out, the more people you have helping clean for that second and third yard clean, the better, because nobody likes to be outside when it's 90 or above. So I help with that. Training is a big part of it, making sure everything's clean. So hippos make a lovely mess. So a good portion of my day is cleaning up cassowary and hippo because both are amazing poopers. So we fill up about 3 to 4 muck buckets worth of poop from hippos, and then cassowaries about 2 5-gallon buckets because their digestive system not that efficient. So they eat food, and you see identifiable pieces of fruit come back out. So they'll go to that pile, eat it a second and third time, which in the wild helps propagate a lot of seeds, which is good. So they're like more disgusting squirrels from Australia and New Guinea. So squirrels bury their nuts, cassowaries poop everywhere, and the seeds germinate.
Amazing. And I'm kind of curious. So you mentioned fruit. So are they frugivores?
They are primarily frutivores.
Right.
So the main component of their diet is fruit, and then a significant portion of veggies. So high protein veggie and high vitamin E and A veggies as well. Because in captivity, one of the deficiencies they have that causes a lot of issues is that vitamin A and E deficiency. So carrots and steamed sweet potatoes.
All right. So I'm more than a little confused right now. For many reasons, just in life in general. But so why are they such ridiculously efficient dinosaur murder birds if they're out there eating fruit and veggies? I mean, I've met some really, nasty vegetarians, but outside of that,
the most dangerous animal's a hungry vegetarian.
Right? No, but like from an evolutionary standpoint, I'm honestly wondering, like, why are they such efficient killers if they don't have to kill anything but like a beanstalk?
So they're from deep rainforested areas of Papua New Guinea and northern Queensland, Australia. Those forests, a lot of that rainforest in Australia is a couple million years old, if not older. So I think the one's 60 million years old. That tract of forest has been a forest since that time. So there have been a lot of different predators, marsupial predators, other mammalian predators in Papua New Guinea that come through. Other birds. So it's just a defense. Being big and being able to defend yourself and your young is key. So they, instead of the flight aspect, they've gone for the fight aspect of that survival instinct.
Okay, I guess that does make sense. I feel like most animals that you think of as being efficient killers are that because they need to kill rather. Yeah. I mean, well, and I guess you still do as a defense mechanism, but you know what I'm saying. So that's just kind of interesting. Oh, very cool. I was very surprised when you were like, oh yeah, and they eat fruit.
Yeah.
Like, cool.
They're built to eat fruit and then protect themselves and their young. So if you're that big and you're younger, itty bitty, about the size of like an average rooster when they're born and a couple days old. So dad has a lot to take care of.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Okay, very cool. Is there anything else that you want to tell me about being here, your time here, this place? We could bash on Bekah for a little bit longer. Whatever you want to do.
I have a question for both of you.
Oh, okay. Is this an on mic thing? Here,
it is an on
come
mic
to me.
Okay. All right, guys. We asked TikTok, Mike. I know you remember this. What do you think? Hippos, avocados, or potatoes?
That's a good question. I will defer to you first.
Oh, I have good reasons behind mine, though. So originally I was team avocado, but as Holly got bigger and bigger when she was pregnant, and them just laying out in the wallow, you don't see their feet too much, their legs, so they look like a baked potato. And also, Holly was a fully loaded baked potato when she was pregnant, and then she gave birth to a tater tot. So I'm team potato now. I used to be team avocado because like their skin has a unique texture and all that. But we'll see what TikTok said. I don't remember what TikTok.
So, okay, the skin, I agree with the avocado thing. Like I do see where those woefully misguided people are coming from. I do. But they are clearly potatoes floating in the water, just being potatoes. And I know that the hippos themselves don't float, but they look like potatoes floating in the water. And they are potatoes. And I can prove it also using like very serious logic here, because they have eyes like potatoes. Ooh. And they're not the pits. I will see myself out.
7 out of 10. That was pretty good.
I like that most of our reasoning was just kind of punny. One of yours and all of mine. Yeah. But no, when you see them in person, they're just very potato-y. They are. Yeah.
And there's a lot more good puns with names and all that with a potato.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Okay. So are we done interrupting my podcast now? All right.
I guess.
Okay. Just checking. All right, just checking. All right. Cool. And then if you've got nothing else, then I guess it's time for the conservation organization.
All right. So conservation organization that the Science Center and myself have recently partnered up with, Reef. So they go out there and do fish surveys. They do invasive.
I'm sorry. I'm an idiot. I know what a fish survey is, and I would like you to explain it to the listeners. But I immediately picture somebody standing there with a clipboard being like, excuse me, sturgeon, can you tell me what you think about it?
You're not far off. But basically, coral reefs, saltwater habitats and all that, a lot of them are getting degraded through the 70s and 80s and 90s. Things were taking a negative turn. A lot of organizations are working on making them healthy again. So how do you know if a reef's healthy or not? It's counting fish, counting larger fish species and all that. So basically it's a lot of citizen science stuff. So you actually do go out there with a little dry clipboard that you could write on underwater, a little slate, and you count fish and you enter the data. And that's how they could see trends with populations and all that. So our organization has a grant within house that any employee can apply to. That's full time. I believe also opening up to part time. I'm not positive on that. Don't yell at me, people. But
Bekah's not paying attention. She's texting someone.
Not.
She's checked out.
So,
she's just checked out right now. It's fine. Anyway.
So I teamed up with our dive master who applied for this grant to find organizations that we could work with in country. So down in Florida Keys, there's a lot of organizations. Reef is down there. So we went out on a coral reef one day, did 2 dives and counted fish, entered that data, and very good organization that was working with us. So helped us a lot. We helped them, and it's something we want to partner with, that we're going to work with in the future. And any organization that the average person could help out with and are making an impact, we really like, because it's going to take a lot of people to make a little bit of a difference. It's not going to be the 3 billionaires that are going into space. It's going to be communities of people upgrading their recycling systems, watching out for wildlife, that type of thing. So
absolutely. And citizen science is huge. That's awesome. So if you're listening to this, check out the organization known as Reef. I'll put their stuff in the liner notes, and you too can go and be a reefer. Wait, I said that wrong. But no, you too can go and help out with honestly really important stuff. Like we've talked a lot on the podcast about how important coral are and all that stuff. So yeah, that's very, very cool.
Oh.
And then, what? You got something.
Oh,
you
no, the gross poop story.
Poop story.
Oh, we're getting there. Yeah,
okay. I'm jumping the gun. Oh,
You're stealing.
Everyone, what has happened? I have lost control.
The inmates are in charge now.
All right, and it's time now, don't you know? We've come to the end of the show, but there's one tale left to go. You're gonna laugh and say, oh no. It's time for the Rossifari poop story.
About a week ago, I was cleaning the night area for the hippos. I was looking into the indoor exhibit pool. So looking, mom and baby were right next to each other. It was adorable. My heart exploded a little bit. So hippos, they fart just like people fart. Don't believe anyone who says they don't fart. They're lying. Don't trust them. So Holly farted, and then like big old bubbles. It's a big hippo. And then not even a minute later, little Huckleberry, just little bubble, just a little bubble. So that was a cuter thing that happened recently, and kind of gross, but not gross. So that's my poop/gassy story.
I like it. Awesome. Thank you so much for taking the time to do this and for putting up with Bekah. And we really appreciate it.
Yeah, this was a blast. Thank you.
All right, there you have it, folks. An awesome look at another person at the Greensboro Science Center who I have just come to love. So that was a wonderful time. I'm grateful to Mike for being there. I'm, I guess, okay with the fact that Bekah jumped in multiple times or whatever. No, I love Bekah. And like I said, you can hear Bekah and I talking for an extended period of time if you go and check out Greensboro Science Center's Science Unlocked podcast, episode 5, featuring me as a guest. I do get some revenge on her for how she treated me in this and other episodes. So make sure you go check that out for me, all right? Now, I have to say at the beginning of this podcast, so I don't script my intros or outros, or really most of what I ever do on this podcast or in life. But I went into the whole, famous duos thing, and then wow, my brain just left me. I think I said Laurel and Hardy is the first one, which I know that's a thing, but I don't think I've ever even seen anything Laurel and Hardy. I don't know where my brain was. But, I can't believe I didn't hit Cheech and Chong or Miles and Coltrane. Okay, most of you guys aren't jazz people, so yeah, you're probably not sure who that is, but suffice to say, they're a famous duo. But another famous duo that I should have mentioned is Dr. Laura Schenk and Dr. Stephen Williamson, the duo that are my current Red Panda level patrons, so I'd like to say thank you to them, as well as all of my patrons for supporting the podcast, and I'd like to remind y'all that the word credits backwards is Steiderk. The Rossifari podcast is produced, hosted, and engineered by John Rossi. Editing and fact-checking by John and Dr. Zoe Rossi. Our theme song is Sevens by Nathan Burke, performed by Nathan and John. Interrupting John theme and additional voices by Taylor Isaac Gray. You can reach John directly on Instagram and Facebook at Rossifari or by email at rossifaripod@gmail.com. Rossifari is part of the Daydreamer Media Network. Now, stop listening to me and go visit a zoo.